Good evening, everyone. Professions, Occupations, and Administrative Process Subcommittee of General Laws will come to order. If the clerk could open the roll for a roll call, and members can please indicate your presence. The clerk will close the roll, and we have a quorum. All right, I know Delegate Sullivan needs to chair another committee, so I'm going to have Delegate Sullivan come up first for HB 2125.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I appreciate your consideration with my schedule. I know I'm not the only one who's supposed to be in 3 different places at one time this afternoon. Madam Chair, this is HB 2125, and to begin, I think there is an amendment. I know there is an amendment that DHRM asked for, I think.
Any opposed? All right, the amendment is before us. Delegate Sullivan.
Just briefly, Madam Chair, the amendment adds that I think line 40, a reference to how this program is supposed to support interns' ability to compete for positions with agencies in the Commonwealth, simply to make clear that positions at the Commonwealth are always done on a competitive basis. Madam Chair and members of the committee, HB 2025 is, for me, a really exciting bill. It has to do with expanding and doing a better job of offering internship opportunities for young people here in state government. What it does is it would help build a talent pipeline and attract high potential students and get a steady flow of skilled and motivated employees into state government. It would enhance workforce diversity, engaging students from all sorts of diverse backgrounds, diversity in every sense of that word, regional and everything else. Improve the public service, enhance the efficiency and effectiveness of government services, and directly benefiting, therefore, the citizens of the Commonwealth. And then cultivate a culture of civic engagement among our young people. There are interns within the Virginia state government in lots of places. There's a program called the COVA Internship Connection already working. But the good news and the bad news is that it's working. But we really think it could be working a lot better if it were more coordinated and more focused. Expanding the program and creating a internship coordinator would allow us to market better with colleges and universities, serve as sort of a connection point between agencies and universities, develop a more centralized programming for these interns, help us measure better what happens, and then help keep tabs on these interns and develop data about them and such. In today's competitive economic environment, I could also cite you some statistics about what the sort of average age of our state workforce is looking like. We need to be able to attract young people into state government. And more and more, the way our economy works these days is that employers, including the Commonwealth of Virginia, are looking for people with some experience who've had an internship and have already shown themselves to have the capabilities we're looking for and have had a chance to start to build those skills. So what this bill is intended to do, as I said, is simply put more focus and energy into our existing program by having a coordinator do it, and through all that, help enhance our state workforce, which is so important to the people of the Commonwealth.
Thank you, Delegate. Are there any questions from the committee before we hear public testimony on this bill? All right, if not, is there anyone here in the audience that speak in favor of the bill?
Good afternoon, Madam Chair, members of this committee. My name is Dylan Bishop, and I am here on behalf of the Virginia Governmental Employees Association. We applaud the patron for bringing forward this bill. To pick up where he left off with some alarming statistics, according to DHRM, presented this data just a few days ago, the Commonwealth's workforce has a 22.4% vacancy rate. Even more alarming is the average age of a new hire is over 37 years old, and the average age of the Commonwealth's workforce is over 46 years old. We've had a long-standing recruitment and retention issue with the state's workforce, which predates COVID and the labor shift that came with that. So we think that this is a great way to have a youthful invigoration in our workforce so that we can train up the leaders of tomorrow to the benefit of the Commonwealth and its 8.4 million citizens. So we'd encourage you to support this bill. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good afternoon, and thank you, Madam Chair and members of the committee. I'm Kate Slayton. I'm here on behalf of Virginia 21 and our students, and we very strongly support this bill. In addition to the great points already made, we feel that this is a great way to attract the top talent in Virginia towards roles in civil service. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
Good afternoon, Madam Chair, members of the subcommittee. I'm Sabina Moretz with the Council of Independent Colleges in Virginia. We support the bill. I associate myself with the comments of my predecessors. We think this is a win for students, a win for institutions, and a win for the Commonwealth of Virginia at a very modest investment. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone here in opposition? All right, if the committee were to act favorably on this bill, it does need to go to appropriations.
Madam Chair,
Delegate Kriesik.
I move to report and refer.
Moved and seconded to report and refer HB 2125. Clerk will open the roll. As amended. Thank you. The bill reports clerk will close the roll. Bill report 7-0. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam
Delegate
Chair,
Sullivan.
members of the committee. Appreciate it.
All right, and I know Delegate Carr also has another place to be. I know everyone does, as Delegate Sullivan mentioned, but working with what we've got here, with what I know. I don't know what I don't know. So Delegate Carr, HB 2154.
Thank you so much, Madam Chair. 2154 is about architecture licensure. I'd like to move the amendments which clarify the bill.
Do you hear a motion for the amendments?
So moved.
Moved and seconded. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? All right, the amendments are before us. Delegate Carr.
Thank you, Madam Chairman, members of the committee. HB 2154 permits an individual to complete a professional experience program to be developed by DPOR that will allow an applicant for licensure to meet the educational requirement through experience under the direct supervision of a licensed architect. The existing conventional pathway to initial architecture registration through an accredited architectural degree and the process for those seeking community reciprocity will remain unchanged. This bill is supported by the Architects Institute of America as it strikes a balance between providing an alternative pathway to licensure while still ensuring architects have the rigorous background and training needed for licensure. Representatives for AIA are here to answer questions on the bill.
Thank you, Delegate. Any questions before testimony is heard? All right, those who are here to speak in favor, please come forward.
Madam Chair, members of the committee, Paul Battaglia, the Executive Vice President for AIA Virginia. We definitely support the bill. We thank the patron for bringing it. We thank DPOR for taking the time to work with us to resolve any potential issues. Thank you.
Appreciate your work. Anyone here to speak in opposition of the bill? Any questions from the committee or motions? Moved and seconded to report the bill. Clerk will open the roll. As amended, please. Thank you. Clerk will close the roll. The bill report 7-0.
Thank you, Madam Chair,
Delegate.
members of the committee.
All right, Delegate McQuinn. HB 2195.
Good afternoon. Thank you, Madam Chair. Madam Chair, I move the substitute to HB 2195.
Chair, motion to accept the substitute. Moved and seconded. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? All right, the substitute is before us, Delegate.
Thank you. Thank you, Madam Chair and members of the committee. House Bill 2195 is a bill actually that was introduced last year. And so today I come asking that it would be amended. And what will happen with this bill, we're renaming the Virginia Board for Asbestos, Lead, and Home Inspectors. as the Virginia Board for Asbestos, Lead, Mold, and Home Inspectors. We're also directing the board to establish certification requirements for the practice in the Commonwealth of mold inspection and mold remediation as those terms that are defined in the bill. And it also contains an emergency clause to repeal the provision of the Virginia Consumer Protection Act passed during the 2024. This problem is a growing problem as it relates to mold, and we have so many, just countless number of people who are calling daily, based on the Virginia Department of Health report, said that they get 3 to 4 calls a day on average from tenants and homeowners who are seeking assistance with addressing a growing problem that is often ignored and not taken care of by those who are providing the service. Many of them come untrained and do an insufficient job, and therefore leaving many families in bad situation. We're in Virginia. You know, the humidity and some of the other challenges that we are dealing with are causing great harm to individuals who have to live and remain in those kind of conditions. So we're bringing this here today to hopefully, again, that we can continue to move this forward. Last year, it was vetoed, and so this year, I'm hoping by the governor that we're going to move it forward and address a big issue in the Commonwealth of Virginia. And we do have individuals here who want to speak on it, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Delegate McQuinn. Are there any questions for the committee before we take testimony? All right, so if we could have those who are in favor of this bill, please come to the podium. And I know we've got a few folks online as well, so I know about you. We'll take online testimony next.
Madam Chair, members of the subcommittee, thank you so much for your time. My name is Erin Trimmer. I am a member of Virginia Organizing, both here at the local chapter in Richmond, but also at the statewide housing committee. And I'm here today to talk about our support for HB 2195. Over the past few years, our chapters across the state have heard from tenants and homeowners about how challenging it is to identify and remediate mold in their homes. Not only is it difficult to hold landlords accountable for addressing the mold, but if anyone is coming to do that work, the mold remediators and inspectors that they hire are untrained and do a poor job. Mold is not something that should be taken lightly. It has serious health implications and can cause asthma, headaches, long-term respiratory issues. And it's not something that affects one population. It is an issue that spans income levels. It goes everywhere. So if we regulate professions such as electricians and cosmetologists because we understand the health issues and the health risks to the consumer, then we should not even have a question that something as hazardous as mold should be done by a trained professional. So thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Hello, Chairwoman Delaney and the board. My name is Rachel Hefner, and I'm a tenant organizer here in Richmond. I'm also a part of the Allies for Housing Action Coalition, who also supports this bill. Over the past nearly 3 years, I've worked with tenants as they advocate tooth and nail to get mold remediated in their apartments. This is only to finally get the remediation, and the services are mediocre, and the mold comes back because it's not done in a proper way. And as a social worker myself, I know that it's very important to have the proper certification so you're not doing harm to the consumers who are receiving the services. And so I asked you to please support this bill so that we can ensure that the consumers who are getting the mold remediated and advocating for themselves to have healthy homes for themselves and their family are receiving proper and good services. Thank you.
Thank you. Before we go online, is there anyone else in the room who is here to speak for this bill? Anyone opposed to this bill in the room? Okay, so going online, if you are here, let us know. I've got HB for this bill. Let's see. Abidia Sims, who's registered online. Are you with us?
Hello.
I see you. All right, go ahead.
Over the past several years, I've dealt with severe mold issues in my home due to my landlord's negligence. It got so bad, it's ruined shoes, clothes, furniture, and my son had pneumonia last year sitting in the house. After 7 years, I finally got it tested, and the numbers were way high. They paid contractors to come out, and they didn't complete the work, and I have not heard from my rental office. Still have moldy couches in my home. I still have my clothes that have been ruined that I have to replace. Mold is a huge issue, and the only way to fix it is making the standards as to what being certified means, and also holding landlords responsible and accountable for the work that isn't done. I just want somewhere healthy and habitable for my kids to live. I don't want to have to deal with pneumonia and runny noses and sleepless nights just to only have mold still in my building. Like, my walls are covered in black mold, and all they did was paint over them. And I just know that somebody needs to be held accountable. I can't do it. And the people that were so-called certified to do it didn't do it either. So it was a waste of everyone's time and money. And now my landlord is trying to bump my rent up to cover those costs, which aren't they aren't of my fault in the first place.
Thank you. I appreciate your testimony. Is Ms. Dream Boyd in the online room ready to speak? I don't think she's there. Okay. Does not look like she's present. So in opposition, I've got Robbie Bradshaw.
Yeah, Madam Chair, members of the committee, I'm Robbie Bradshaw with the IICRC. We are not really opposed to the idea and the intent behind the bill. We're mainly just kind of opposed to the way the language is currently drafted. You heard from the witnesses, there are certified people in the state that are following standards, that are doing the job properly. But there are bad actors, and that's kind of what we were trying to avoid last year with Delegate McQuinn and the Consumer Protection Act. I think the way that the language is currently drafted, people that are not certified can still practice mold remediation. If we really want to help and solve the mold remediation, I guess, crisis and the lack thereof of educated folks, is to require industry certifications, which includes IICRC, NORME, ACAC, all of those, but also to require everybody to adhere to industry standards. The industry standard is the IICRC's S520. It's an accredited industry standard, and it is the standard of care for the industry. Technically, landlords are required to follow it, or any other industry standard, rather. But I think if we really want to get a hold of this, it is there are industry standards and industry certifications out there that the IICRC standard certification is a 4-day class with an exam at the end. But there are people that aren't certified that are doing this job properly, and we feel that the language just needs to be tied up a little bit, and requiring a standard as well would be also helpful.
Okay. Thank you. I have a question from Delegate Krizek.
Yep.
This for the delegate, Madam Chair.
Question for the patron.
For the patron. Mm-hmm. So is the DPOR mold certification regulatory program, is that would still be? I
apologize. Sorry. I can't hear you.
I know people have told me that they can't hear me. I must be mumbling back here. Thank you in the back. So right now, the DPOR mold certification regulatory program, it's still in your bill. That's not removed, right?
No, it renames the board to Virginia Board for Asbestos, Lead, and Home Inspectors, the board. Then it directs the board to also establish certification requirements. Is that what you're basically asking?
Yes.
In terms of, okay.
Okay, thank you.
Delegate Lefwich.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I support the concept of this bill. In fact, one of my law partners has represented several homeowners and or tenants in regards to mold issues in their homes, and had a little bit of success in that. But I think we have another bill later on the docket that will actually require a license, and which I think would be a little bit more stringent. So I'm inclined to support that concept. maybe if the patron could tell me the differences or distinctions between those two, maybe convince me one way or the other.
Hi, again, Rachel Hefner. I'm with Virginia Organizing. We've been working on this bill. And DPOR, I think, is here as well, so they might be able to answer the question a little bit better. But there's 5 different levels of regulation, licensure starting at the top, and then certification being the second most top level. And so we originally had licensure as the language of this particular bill, and actually switched it to certification to make sure that we were not creating undue burden upon the mold profession as a whole. And because, as we were explained to by DPOR, it can be very costly to go through those licensure, and we don't want that to be an issue. We just want to make sure that if someone is saying that they are certified, that they are certified. Because in this language, if they, by DPOR standards, you cannot say that you're certified if you're not, which is what we would like to make sure is happening.
And, go ahead.
And Madam Chair, and we did talk in terms of Delegate Wiltz and I about the two bills, in the similarity, the commonality as well as the differences. One of the things that he had in his bill, this is such an urgent issue, and I think that there was looking for a 2-year study, and this is establishing of a board. So that they could start moving in the direction, of looking at the particular issue and addressing it. I don't know if some families who have had to live under these daunting conditions, I mean, we need to get on this, and it need to be looked upon as a serious matter that's happening in our Commonwealth, and families need to be protected, and we need to provide the protection much sooner than later. I mean, I don't know in terms of the study, because we know it's a widespread issue. We know it's an issue. We know some of the health concerns that are brought about as a result of it. And so that was certainly one of the differences that I had in terms of his bill and mine, in terms of doing a 2-year study.
And Delegate Lefwich, another question.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And this may be, I have 2 questions, if I may. One is for the patron, and the other would be maybe for DPOR. Does your bill, when it directs the study, does it direct them to look at a potential licensing regimen?
Mine's, no, not this one that I have. Now, Wilt does, Delegate Wiltz, right?
Yeah. So
Looks at the license. Mine's look at the certification. Yeah.
Madam Chair.
Delegate Lefwich.
Thank you. So I hear that creating a licensure process would take too much time. I was just wondering whether engaging in a certification process while also looking at the potential of licensing might be a good path. And that's not really a question, just me thinking out loud. But I would like to hear from DPOR about their thoughts on licensing and how long it would take to set that up. What kind of delay would we be looking at in that scenario?
Madam Chair, members of the committee, my name is Steve Kirshner. I'm the Deputy Director over Licensing Division at DPOR. And as was previously stated, so there's 5 levels of regulation, and DPOR actually has an oversight board. It's called the Board for Professional and Occupational Regulation, that is charged under the Code of Virginia to study unregulated professions and determine which level of regulation is appropriate. So that study, in this case, that study has not occurred, and so the benefits of that study is they can consult with the industry, various subject matter experts to determine where that level of licensure should occur. Now, as far as actually implementing the program itself, it likely wouldn't take 2 years to implement the program. That could happen on a faster scale, particularly in this case because it was previously regulated and deregulated. The regulations largely exist from the 2009 regulation of it.
Madam.
Delegate Lefwich, and then I've got a question from Delegate Friesen.
So if you started tomorrow, how long would it take to create a licensing regimen?
Madam Chair, in response to the question, if we started tomorrow, in order to have an actual license that's available that individuals could apply for, I couldn't tell you the exact amount of time. We would likely need probably 6 months would be the very fastest to get it up and going, but it could take a little longer than that.
Thank you.
Delegate Creasy.
Thank you. Director Kirshner, quick question, Madam Chair. Why hasn't that study to determine what kind of license to use has not taken place?
Yeah, Madam Chair. So I can't necessarily speak for ages past at DPOR. What I can tell you is that in 2009, mold remediation was regulated by the General Assembly. The board is the same board, the Asbestos, Lead, and Home Inspector Board that had responsibility over that. They developed regulations, but in 2011, before those regulations took effect, the General Assembly deregulated that profession. And so subsequent to that, since 2011, we have not received a request to, and I think largely because of the legislative action that had happened relatively recently, there wasn't an indication that that was an area of demand. We hadn't received any requests to study it either from the legislator or the public. And there is a statutory mechanism to request the board to study those things, but it hadn't happened.
Thank you, Director. Madam Chair, just
Delegate Creasy.
so my understanding is this is there's an emergency clause on this bill, so the time is of the essence. Sorry, time is of the essence, and this is not going to require the study. This bill does not require any kind of that study. This would just go pick certification, the number 2 category, if you will. And the reason for that, and this is the difference, maybe, Patron, if you can come up to the podium, but is this the difference? No, our Patron. Yeah, Delegate McQuinn.
Oh, okay.
You'll go next.
I'm sorry.
Is this the difference between your bill from last year and this year? Is that this time you've decided, and it's because of that the industry out there has kind of said, hey, look, certification's the way to go. That's kind of what I heard, right? And so that's why we're moving fast. Is that correct,
Yes,
Madam
yes,
Chair? So,
yeah.
for the question for Director Kirshner is that going to be problematic for you if we were to go with this bill and let's say it passes and it has an emergency clause, and I mean we're picking the certification over licensure, and we're kind of taking it away from you to do that job. How does that impact your process?
Yeah, Madam Chair, in response to the question, there are some challenges with executing this law. Certainly, as DPOR, I can tell you the laws that you send our way, we will enact them as faithfully as we're able. But we do obviously there are some challenges with this, with the emergency enactment.
Delegate Bulova.
Yeah, thank you, Madam Chair. And I guess two quick questions for the director. And I appreciate you being here to answer those technical questions. So when we deregulated mold originally, had it been previously certification or licensure?
And Madam Chair, in response to the question, it was previously licensure.
Licensure, okay. And then I guess the next question is that the gentleman who was online seemed to indicate that there might be some changes or clarifications or wording that might need to be tightened up in this particular piece of legislation. And I guess wanted to make sure that, I guess, in your expert opinion, that this is kind of standard language with respect to anything that might be licensed or certified under DPOR. Just wanted to see if you agreed or saw anything here that needed to be tightened up, or is this pretty standard in terms of, notwithstanding the emergency clause, your ability to effectively implement this?
Yeah, Madam Chair, as far as the language in the bill itself, would we be able to execute it? Yes, the way it's written. I think that the concern is currently in the industry itself, there are private certifications, national certifications that can be obtained. And I believe there's some concern that there may end up being consumer confusion about if you say I have a certification, whether that's the state certification that would be issued under this bill versus a national private certification.
Madam Chair.
Delegate Bulova.
I guess if we passed this, though, one couldn't call themselves or hold them out as a certified mold remediator in Virginia if they hadn't met this. So even if they had that national certification, if they hadn't gone through your process, that would not be allowed, correct?
Yeah, Madam Chair, that's correct. That it would essentially be a protected term. A certified mold remediator would be protected. Only those with the DPOR certification could use it.
Okay, thank you.
Delegate Campbell.
Madam Chair, since we have two bills that are so similar and this is such a serious issue, we need to make sure that we get this right. Would it be possible that we could hear the other bill as well?
Yes, Delegate Campbell. My intent is once we're kind of wrapped up with most of the debate on this bill is to just pass by for the temporarily delegate's bill before us and then call up Delegate Wilt's bill next and then kind of make a decision on motions from there. So that is the intent. Thank you. But before we do that, Delegate Leftwich on this bill.
Thank you, Chair Delaney, for indulging so many questions from me. So I guess, what we're really trying to address are some of the bad actors. And so for the director, what I would ask is, and we'll never get rid of all bad actors because some people are just bad, but in your opinion, the certification process, would that weed out, do a good job of weeding out at least some of those bad actors?
And Madam Chair, as far as whether the certification would weed out the bad actors, it's difficult to say. What the certification level of licensure provides is it allows the consumer to say, all right, if I hire someone with that certification, then I know they're going to have met these minimum state standards, and I'll get a minimum level of service and a minimum level of protection. So with the certification level, individuals could still go out and perform those mold remediation services. They just couldn't call themselves a certified mold remediator.
Okay, follow up.
Delegate Leftwich.
Is there a mechanism to strip someone of their certification as compared to a license?
Yeah, Madam Chair, there is. It would be essentially the same process as stripping someone of a license.
All right, thank you. Okay, so if there's no further questions on Delegate McQuinn's bill, Delegate McQuinn, if you don't mind, we might just take your bill by temporarily, allow Delegate Wilt to present his House Bill 2355. We can kind of hear his presentation on the differences, and the committee can ask questions and debate and determine a path forward to solve a really important problem. Thank you. Delegate Wilt.
Thank you, Madam Chair and committee members. It's a vibrant discussion. And so first let me start. I'm in total agreement with Delegate McQuinn's and what we've heard. I mean, it's common knowledge. We've got to get to the bottom of this. We have a lot of bad actors. It was interesting. Forgive me for not remembering exactly where it was at, but at some point recently, I saw a vehicle. It was a work van going by. It said, whatever the name of the company, free mold remediation. And immediately I thought, well, clearly that person has no clue what remediation means, because one of the folks that are greatly affected by this is my sister-in-law, and she's probably going to kick me in the backside when I get home for outing her like that. But it takes over a period of time for the exposure of mold. At least it did for her. But once she got it, I mean, it's just devastating to her health. I mean, she can be exposed to literally just the minutest amount, and she gets so terribly sick. So have a little bit of secondhand experience seeing how all this happens. And so what's going on is we have folks that come out to inspect and quote unquote remediate, but some are great. I've got a guy in my area that does a great. I mean, he's truly a professional, certified, licensed, all the good things that you can have. But there's a lot of people that don't. So that I know that's why the delegate and I are carrying our bills to try to get to the bottom of it. Now, we talked about the difference in the bill. So what my bill does, it updates the Consumer Protection Act language that again was addressed last year in Delegate McQuinn's bill to expand the folks that can certify people that are going to work in this field, right? They can certify them. And what happened, it got limited to one organization, the IIC. We heard from the gentleman that represents them. He's indicated in my office, we need some more certifiers. Okay, so that's the first part of my bill. Then the second part is it does involve a study, but simply the study's only for DPOR to determine, do we need licensure? Do we need to go back to licensure? That's that certification, no question. The difference, as I understand it, Madam Chair, is that the difference, if we stay with the Consumer Protection Act, if you have to get their certification, it has teeth. And anyone that goes out there has to have that. Anyone that's doing mold inspection remediation. With the DPOR certification, if you say you're certified and you're not, and you're doing it, they can get you, but it's voluntary. You can go. You don't have to get the DPOR certification, and you can continue on. Joe's mold remediation, free remediation, he can carry on. There's nothing that causes him to have to get the DPOR certification. So that's why my bill says let's stay with the Consumer Protection Act language and increase it to more certifiers, but you got to get certified through them. Let DPOR do a study on the licensure aspect. Maybe we need that, Madam Chair. Maybe we need to up the ante on the qualifications, but so that's about that's my bill.
Thank you, Delegate. Well, I have a question from Delegate Krizek and then Delegate Bulova.
So we heard from DPOR from Director Kirshner that we don't need to put it in the code or the study. We can just request that study, but and that's not probably a bad idea. But I wanted, so is your idea would be you would be knocking out the Joe's free remediation types out there, and there'll be, so with your bill compared to the Delegate McQuinn's bill, there will be a lot less, if you will, people in the business that are getting rid of mold, or at least they will all have to be licensed by DPOR. Is that what you're saying?
Madam Chair, no, not licensed, certified.
I'm certified. Same kind of thing.
With the consumer, if we go the direction of the Consumer Protection Act, if we stay in that universe, then yes, they would have to be certified. Every Joe's all of them would have to have that. But my concern is, again, it was stated, if you get the DPOR certification and you go out and say, hey, I'm certified, and you're not, then DPOR can get you. But you don't even have, that's voluntary.
Follow-up question from Delegate Krizek. All right,
so just to be clear, and I think you clarified it well, Delegate Will, so in your bill, it would be a certification, but it wouldn't be under DPOR, it would be under consumer protection, correct?
Correct.
Okay.
Correct. Because everyone would have to.
Final question, Madam Chair.
Krizek.
And so that means that so Joe would have to go out and get certified by Consumer Protect. Otherwise he would not be able to do it. If on the other under DPOR, he could still be out there, but he couldn't use the word certified, essentially.
Correct. He couldn't say that he was certified.
Thank you.
If he hasn't been.
Gotcha. Thank you.
Delegate Bulova.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And I think this is a question for the Director of DPOR. And I think I kind of understand the conundrum that we're in after he kind of described that you can be certified at the national level and then you've got a DPOR certification. And are people going to really kind of know the difference with all those things? And I guess my question is, can these two things coexist, right? And so you've got a DPOR certification. You can't hold yourself out there as being certified mold remediator without a DPOR certification. And can that coexist with the language in here that says you can't hold yourself out as being a professional mold remediator, which can mean anything. I think that just means you're selling those services without at least having one of those national certifications. So just wondering if we can have our cake and eat it too, whether they are mutually exclusive.
And Madam Chair, and I do apologize, I don't have the text of the bill in front of me to know precisely, but if I can maybe restate the question to make sure I understand it, is can you have a situation where you've got a DPOR certification that we would be enforcing and have standards for, and at the same time have others, you're saying others operating maybe under a national that association certified? Would that system work? Is that the question?
I guess, Madam Chair, maybe I can go ahead and restate it. So under Delegate McQuinn's bill, we want to make sure that somebody can't hold themselves out as a certified mold remediator. Otherwise, you guys go ahead and wrap them. That your area of enforcement. I think the concern, to Delegate Wilt's point, is that they're not going to call themselves a certified anything. They're just going to come out and it's going to be Joe's mold remediation. And that's also a problem. And I think that's where you get at that Consumer Protection Act, where you can't call yourself a professional mold remediator without at least having one of those national certifications. So maybe not a DPOR certification, but at least you have some kind of training at the national level. It seems to me that we want to address both. And I guess I just wanted to make sure that if we wanted to have both, that there's not an inherent conflict that we're creating.
Yeah, Madam Chair, to answer that question, I think that I think it's reasonable to assume there could be.
Thank you.
It was excellent.
Yeah, I think it's reasonable to assume there may be some confusion around that, and that's some of the value of having the BOPR board study exactly how that licensure should play out, as well as those considerations around, hey, there are these various national certifications. How do we avoid consumer confusion about who can do what and what these mean?
Okay, thank you. Any other questions from the committee? Delegate Krizek?
So, Director, right now, anybody can call themselves a mold remediation and can just wave an ultraviolet light to get rid of the mold. Am I correct?
Madam Chair, that's correct.
All right. So something needs to be done, Madam Chair.
Madam Chair, if you would permit us, why don't we've had a lot of discussion, so just buy it for the day.
Okay.
We will sit together and come up with something suitable that we think we'll be able to present that would address this issue. The bottom line is those individuals who are affected, how do we get there?
Yep, absolutely. And I think it is, as you very well expressed, an important and kind of urgent need that we do need to make sure we have addressed this session. So if both patrons are agreeable to have this go by for the day, we'll be happy to hear this at the next meeting, the one future meeting.
Okay.
The last meeting.
The last meeting. Okay.
Madam Chair,
Delegate Cole.
do we have to move individually, or can we move them together?
Bye for the day, that might even just be at the chair's announcement to take it by for the day. Uber Chair Bolova, do you concur? Yeah, I think we can say the bills are by for the day, and without objection from the committee, they go by for the day. I don't think that's a vote we have to take. So I appreciate your work on this.
All right.
All right, thank you, delegates.
All right, thank you. Thank you, Madam Chair and the committee.
Okay, so we have another set of bills while we're doing pairs here, but this one will be maybe a little, not necessarily, well, I don't even know what word I want to use, but we have Delegate Maldonado's HB 2251, which she has agreed to incorporate that into Delegate Willett's 1954. So before, or I'm sorry, I don't even know where I got that number from, 1940. So I think I literally merged them in my mind there. So if we could have a motion to incorporate House Bill 2251 into House Bill 1940.
So moved.
Moved and seconded. That is a voice vote, I believe. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? All right, those bills are incorporated. And so Delegate Willett, since that has been, we're going to take the twins here, twin bills, if you'd like to come up and present 1940.
Great. Thank you, Madam Chair and members of the committee. So I have HB 1940 before you. I do have a slight amendment to that I may just defer to council to, I could probably get it right, but I'll defer to council.
If council would like to report the amendment.
Madam Chair, on line 21, after department, strike shall and insert may.
Move the amendment.
All right, been moved and seconded. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? All right, the amended bill is before us. Delegate Willett?
Great. Thank you again, Madam Chair. So this is a Section 1 bill that would direct the regulatory board at DPOR to develop regulations creating a licensure pathway for qualified international professionals, provided they meet certain established criteria. This proposal will give those regulatory boards discretion to build on their earlier work under the Universal Licensing Recognition framework that was adopted in 2023. There are multiple examples of where this would be beneficial. I can give a personal story of going to my barber recently. He's an immigrant, now naturalized citizen in the U.S. from Iraq. He has friends and from foreign countries who he is recruiting to come to the U.S. They carry foreign licensure, and it's a hurdle. It's a hurdle to get them there, and we do have a barber shortage speaking to that. So this bill would help that, help those individuals who are in Virginia able to do these, provide these services in a number of different professions. And I hope will be the will of this body to approve this bill, and I welcome your questions. Thank you.
Go back on. Thank you, Delegate. Are there any questions from the committee before we call up witnesses for testimony? All right. If anyone is here to speak in favor of the bill, if you could please come forward.
Good afternoon, Madam Chair, members of the committee. Steve Kirshner from DPOR. We thank the delegate for bringing the bill, and I'm happy to answer any questions you have about it.
Thank you.
Madam Chair, members of the committee, Paul Battaglia, AIA Virginia, the Architect Institute of Virginia. We support the bill, and we thank DPOR for having brought us an advanced version so we could discuss the issues. Thank you.
Thank you.
Afternoon, Madam Chair, members of the committee. DJ Spiker with the Virginia Realtors. We certainly support the bill, bringing Patron and DPOR for bringing it forward. This made me look up if international realtors exist. They do, and so was maybe have to do a Google search, but we certainly support it. Thanks.
Now I need one. All right, anyone here to speak in opposition to the bill? All right, any other questions or comments from the committee? No, all right. If this bill reports, it does need to report as a substitute because of the incorporation.
Move to report as substituted.
All right, moved and seconded. The clerk will open the roll. All right, the clerk will close the roll. The bill reports 6-0. Thank you, Delegate.
Madam Chair, thank you. Members of the committee, thank you.
All right, and I understand another committee is at ease so that patrons can have their bills heard. It kind of puts us right back at the original list here, order anyway. So Delegate Gardner, 1758.
Good afternoon, Madam Chair, members of the committee. H. Bill 1758, as you may recall, the intent of this bill was to address the pressing issue of housing affordability, specifically how state and local governments can leverage surplus property to create new housing opportunities. Our goal was to kind of go back and try to come up with some solutions to address the issues that DGS had, and we have that before you in the form of a substitute.
I move to substitute.
Moved and seconded. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? All right, the substitute is before us. Delegate Gardner.
A few key changes from the introduced bill addresses the Department of General Services concerns, such as the substitute bill addresses the concern raised by them last week. And to my knowledge, we've met, talked in person, back and forth. I think there are no remaining concerns of the agency. If somebody's here, they can kind of speak to that. So I think we have peace in the valley, so I would ask that the committee consider this bill for passage.
Thank you. Any questions from the committee before we hear testimony? All right, is anyone here to speak in favor of the bill?
Madam Chair, Andrew Clark with the Home Builders, Virginia, and of course, we'd support the bill and think it's a very innovative way of, as we're trying to find more land and for opportunities for mixed income, affordable housing, to really get those properties that the state and local governments have said, hey, we don't need anymore, and to get them kind of prioritized and into the hands of nonprofits and private sector who actually do long-term affordable housing. So I hope you'll support the bill.
Anyone here to speak in opposition to the bill? Delegate Lafwich, you have a question?
Thank you for the patron. So I scanned through the substitute, and I'd heard some concern about this delaying the eventual disposition of property, and I see that we went from 180 days to 120 days. I assume that's one of the primary differences between the original and the substitute. What are some of the other changes? Because I just got the substitute and I haven't really read the whole thing.
If the patron or council would be prepared to contrast the differences between the original bill and the substitute.
Yes.
Highlights, basically.
Okay, I'm sorry.
Just the highlights. I don't need
okay.
every preposition I don't need to know about.
The structure of it, the problem was the structure of the sale and having DGS be the broker. So we tried to address that with certainly giving the localities the first option, and it would go through the localities and not necessarily DGS through the process that they already have. One of the other concerns was that it doubled the 180 days. So with the help of them, we kind of changed that language so it would no longer do that. They would not get it back. That's one of the highlights. And then evaluating the market interest and value of the property, we addressed that with the process that they already had in place. And then we fine-tuned some of the definitions.
Delegate Lefwich.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I like it. But the substitute's kind of fresh, so I may vote no, just so I have time and flag it, but we'll probably change that to a yes at full committee, so just don't.
Thank you, Delegate. We were actually last night at 9 o'clock kind of making some additional changes to it to try to get everybody kind of satisfied with the
I suspect it's going to pass, so.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay. Any other questions from the committee? Delegate Gardner, I might ask if you could take, I know you've got to get back to your other committee, but if I might want to ask if you could take this bill by, because I think there might still be some outstanding concerns that we hope maybe if we can get to it by the end of this committee, otherwise maybe by for the day and come back next week, because my understanding is there may still be some outstanding concerns we'd like to have you work on.
Okay.
So if it's okay with you, and if it's without objection with the committee, we'll go by temporarily.
Okay.
And we'll let, if you work that out, let me know. Otherwise, we can take it by until the end of this meeting and hear it next week. So we'll give you time you need to try to work out any details.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Is it Delegate, you're going to talk to me about that? Thank you.
So without objection, we'll take Delegate Gardner's bill by for the day, or I'm sorry, by temporarily, and we'll see where we end up.
Okay. Thank you.
Yep, absolutely. Delegate Arnold, 1857.
Evening, Madam Chair, members of the subcommittee. HB 1857 simply amends the time of experience, practice, licensure, or operation needed to serve on various boards identified in the bill from 5 years to 3 years. It is the intent of the bill that this reduction will increase the applicant pool and fill vacancies on these boards. The department is here to answer any questions specifically about this. I welcome any questions from the committee.
All right, any questions from the committee before we hear testimony? All right, I guess anyone here speak in favor of the bill?
Madam Chair, members of the committee, Steve Kirshner from D4. Again, thank the delegate for bringing this bill, and happy to answer any questions that you have about it. We see really two principal benefits to the agency from this. One is it will make it easier for us to find qualified board members to serve on our boards. And some of our boards are very popular, and we get a lot of folks. There's a long line to join them, and other boards, it takes some work to find folks to join it. The other big benefit is it really adds a diversity of thought and experience to our boards. Particularly recently, we've been going through a lot of policy development and regulatory development for all of our boards. And we get, usually our board members are very experienced, and they bring great wisdom through their experience, but they may not have been through the licensing process or examination process or education process very recently. And so having qualified board members who have that different perspective on our boards, we think will aid in our policy development. So, thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else to speak in favor of the bill? And is there anyone in opposition to the bill? I think, and maybe Deepor, if you want to stay nearby, because this, I guess, would be kind of for either of you. I think anytime we've seen bills that deal with kind of reducing the amount of time someone needs to be in their profession, it raises a little bit of concern with some members when it comes to, are they meeting the experience levels required to really bring the needed expertise to the table. And so do you have kind of a comment on sort of striking that balance between having enough people and having the robust experience that the more years of experience might bring?
Yes, Madam Chair. Yeah, to answer that question, currently at DPOR, we have a mix of our boards where some boards have no experience requirement for the board members. Some have lengthy requirements. The boards that are listed here, they're all currently at 5 years. And so there were other boards that were excluded from this. For example, the real estate board is not included in that, although they do have a year threshold. So we did take that into account, and we're trying to strike a balance between making sure that individuals, board members, would have the necessary qualifications needed to adequately serve on the board to address the different policy issues that would come before them.
Thank you. Any other questions from the committee? Delegate Campbell, is your light on? I don't know. I just saw your light over there, but do you have a question? Okay. No, I was just looking for lights. All right. Any other questions from the committee? And did I ask if anyone opposed? I think I did. It's getting late. Delegate Siebold.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I was just curious, maybe it's late, but this is just, it feels very familiar. Was this bill, did the delegate carry this bill last year and present it?
Madam Chair, to answer the patron, no, I did not.
Council, do you have any recollection of this, if this was a bill, I guess, to answer Delegate Siebold's question? If you recall that we had a bill like that. I think we had similar bills on the concept of sort of reducing the years of experience for a variety of professions to sit on a variety of things. And so maybe that concept is familiar, which kind of led me to the questioning of, I think in the past we had encountered some of those types of policy decisions to make. And again, sort of striking that balance between making sure you've got the interest in filling these important roles, while also making sure that the people who sit in those roles are qualified and have the years of experience to govern appropriately. Any other comments or questions from the committee? Do I hear a motion? Moved and seconded.
Madam Chair, substitute motion.
Delegate Bulova.
Lay the bill on the table.
Moved and seconded to table the bill. Clerk will open the roll. All right. Clerk will close the roll. Bill is tabled 5-0. Thank you, Delegate.
I thank the chair and members of the committee.
Next is Delegate Tata. HB 1963.
Thank you, Madam Chair and members of the committee. HB 1963 is a bill that seeks to build on the extraordinary success of the Virginia Military Community Infrastructure Grant Program and Fund created by the Virginia General Assembly in 2022. It provides an annual grant award to eligible military communities to support infrastructure projects that enhance military readiness, resiliency, installation resiliency, and quality of life for military communities. Since its creation, this grant fund has proven to be a high return investment in our military communities. It leverages available federal funds to improve our infrastructure and increase Virginia's military value. In the 2 years since its creation, the program has achieved $19.6 million investment gain at a 122% annualized return on Virginia's $5 million investment. These grants have helped five localities, including City of Hampton, Newport News, Prince William County, Virginia Beach, and the City of Norfolk, making significant infrastructure improvements in the last 18 months. In my district, City of Virginia Beach leveraged $1.5 million grant from the fund to collaborate with the Joint Expeditionary Base Little Creek and Naval Air Station Oceana on an $11.4 million project to upgrade the aging infrastructure at Creed's Law Enforcement Training Facility. This project will create a modern training environment for military personnel, police, firefighters, and other first responders. This program is further complemented by the designation of the Potomac and Tidewater Sentinel landscapes by the U.S. Department of Agriculture, Department of Defense, Department of the Interior. The partnership includes 10 Virginia military installations and covers 2.9 million acres that support mutual military, agriculture, and recreation land interests. It also delivers a competitive advantage for federal funding from the Department of Defense. This grant enhances Virginia's military value and competitiveness for further Department of Defense investment, and I hope you will continue to support this investment in Virginia.
Thank you, Delegate. Any questions from the committee before we call up testimony? Hearing none, if anyone is here to speak in favor of the bill, if you could please come forward.
Madam Chair, members of the committee, I'm Tom Krebs. I'm the military liaison for the Commonwealth and the administrator of this program. Everything that Delegate Tata just passed is absolutely true. This has been a very, very successful program for federal funds returning to Virginia through a small investment on our part that helps our localities manage the match that's required when they win a federal funding opportunity. We split that with them, and it's not just favorable to the localities. The federal government loves the state is also contributing to the local match, and that makes us even more competitive. This is a national best practice relative to the pursuit of federal funds, and we've been very successful because of it. Happy to take any questions.
Any questions from the committee? All right, anyone here in opposition to the bill? Go ahead, Delegate.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Does this
Yes.
This needs to be?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
To preemptively answer your question, Delegate, this bill, if reporting favorably, does need to go to appropriations.
So there's no downside at this point.
All right, if there's no further question, do we hear a motion?
Report and refer to appropriations.
Moved and seconded to report and refer to appropriations. The clerk will open the roll. All right, the clerk will close the roll. The bill reports 7-0.
Thank you.
Thank you, Delegate. Delegate Cherry.
Oh,
sorry. Delegate Gardner has found peace in the valleys. We'll be really quick, Delegate Cherry. I know. I'm like I know, I see your
Thank you,
look
sir.
at me.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I think we found peace in the valley. We've had this discussion, and the housing is really good with the concept. They're in the room. There might be some tweaks between now and full, but we're pretty good.
You're on the path.
Yes.
All right. Do we hear a motion then on Delegate Gardner's 1758?
Madam Chair.
Delegate Boulevard.
Thank you, Madam Chair. If maybe Mr. Boudreau could come up and just provide maybe a little inkling about what the minor tweaks might entail, so I can be prepared when we go into full general laws on Tuesday.
Madam Chair, members of the committee, Damus Boudreau, Virginia Housing Development Authority. I'm speaking about a bill that I'm pretty new about learning, but I did speak to our General Counsel, Fred Bryant, and he had a chance to review the legislation, and we're good with the concept. And as the delegate mentioned, there might be some textual tweaks between now and full. And with a disclaimer, we have no position on the bill. So thank you.
Very good. Thank you. And if I could, Madam Chair.
Yes, sir.
For Delegate Gardner, if you could make sure that we get any proposed changes as early as humanly possible to our senior staff attorney. I know she's going to be working overtime to prepare for that meeting.
I sure will, and I asked the gentleman to do the same for me.
All right, thank you.
Madam Chair.
Delegate Krizek.
And I want to thank the delegate for working hard this past week on this, but also to admonish her and all of my colleagues, and including myself, because we sometimes forget to who to talk to. And I want to thank Virginia Housing Development Authority for their flexibility and being able to do this on the fly like they did. So thank you, everybody, but let's all do a little bit better job, including myself, because I know I do this so much. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
I move to report.
Moved and seconded. Clerk will open the roll to report 1758. Okay, clerk will close the roll. Bill report. Oh.
We're going to get you to the yes.
Bill reports.
Thank you.
Delegate. All right, Delegate Cherry.
Thank you, Madam Chair, members.
Good evening, Madam Chair. I will direct your attention to House Bill 2374. And there is a line amendment, I believe.
Would council report the amendment?
Madam Chair, on line 8 in the title, after agents, insert semicolon, prohibited practices under Virginia Consumer Protection Act. And on line 689, after 1 period A, strike the remainder of line 689 and through other on line 690 and insert list of any.
Sorry, do I hear a motion to adopt the line amendment?
So moved.
Moved and seconded. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? All right, the amended bill is before us. Delegate Cherry.
Awesome. Thank you, ma'am. Obviously, with things changing in sports, both high school and collegiate here within the Commonwealth of Virginia, agent-athlete interactions and relationships are something that we should be mindful of and making sure that we're putting things in the right place. What this bill would do was transfer the registration of the athlete agents out of DPOR and put it under regular Consumer Protection Act provisions. The main reason for that is that this would provide greater protection for the athletes that are in these relationships by giving them a cause of action to sue if they the regulations are not followed properly under the Consumer Protection Act. Right now, if an agent were to abscond with or do something nefarious in terms of the athlete relationship and to take their money, there's really no recourse for the student athlete, and this would allow that under the Consumer Protection Act, and that's why DPOR has asked for this bill to move that, and we have DPOR here if you have any questions about what the bill does.
Thank you. Delegate Cole? Question?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I have a question for DPOR. As we just get into the bottom of the bill, what problem is this going to solve, and why specifically is this necessary?
Yeah, Madam Chair, in response to the question of what problem does it solve and why is it necessary? To just put a little bit of context on it, over the last 3 years, DPOR has, all 18 boards at DPOR have been going through doing line-by-line regulatory review under Governor Youngkin's Executive Order 19. And the fundamental question that all the boards have been asking is, what is the risk to the public that this rule is trying to prevent? And is this the least restrictive way to mitigate that risk? So the boards are identifying risk to the public, and is this the best way to protect the public? And this bill really, you can think of, stems out of that same analysis. So we were looking at what is the risk to the public, in this case, it's the student athletes, and is the middle level of regulation, if we talk about those 5 levels of regulation there at registration, is that the least restrictive way to mitigate the risk? And so we were looking at where's the risk and what is the mechanism to protect the student athletes from that risk? And so that was the genesis of this bill. And we believe that the provisions that are being inserted into the Virginia Consumer Protection Act will adequately protect the student athletes.
Delegate Siebold has a question, and then Delegate Krizek.
Question for the patron, Madam Chair.
Delegate Siebold.
Thank you very much. Can we just rewind a bit? I have 2 teenage children, but clearly neither of them are at the point where they need an agent because I'm very unfamiliar with this program. Can you tell me a little bit about the agent student athlete relationship? How do they find the agent? Is this done through the schools? Can you give me a little background information on this topic?
So currently, if an agent wants to operate in the Commonwealth of Virginia, they have to register with DPOR. There's really few standards, I would say, about that other than them signing up and saying, hey, I'm an agent and I want to work here in Virginia. And currently in Virginia, there are 73 registered agents. If you're wondering about the scope of what we're talking about, there's 73 people that have signed up to do that. Where they find each other, it's all part of the recruiting process. When your student athletes are highly recruited athletes, the agents know where they are and who they are. And so they would approach the families and say, hi, I am a registered athlete agent here in Virginia. Can we enter into a relationship contract for me to represent your student athlete to negotiate NIL deals or to try to get them into certain colleges based on recruitment of that? So that's how the relationship forms and how they find each other.
Delegate Lefwich.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So I'm a big fan of the Consumer Protection Act. In my practice of in excess of 35 years, I often have people come to me and say, someone did me wrong. And typically, my response is, well, bring me the contract. All your rights are spelled out in the contract. And you have teenagers and perhaps unsophisticated parents who see dollar signs and they enter into a contract and they have no recourse if they get the shafted or the short end of the stick. Under the Consumer Protection Act, that contract must meet certain standards and protect that athlete and gives them a cause of action if they've been taken advantage of. And so in my former years on this committee, I may have not been real fond of putting certain things into that act, because when you have 2 sophisticated individuals negotiating, that's one thing. But this is not a level playing field. If there was ever a situation where our students and our athletes need protection, it's in this area. So just not a question, just an observation.
Yeah, thank you, Delegate. And I think you hit the nail on the head, which is that cause of action that currently does not exist, that does not protect these student athletes. To your point, and to the Delegate's point of very few of us have athletes that are going to rise to this level that this becomes a thing. And so knowing what to do, knowing how to protect yourself and put those things in the contract, I think this is a great place to put it for that protection. And as DPOR stated, they think this is the best place for it.
Delegate Kriesek?
Thank you, Delegate. Have you spoken to the universities, for example, and talked to them? Because this is a very fast, quickly evolving area. I noticed that Virginia Tech and UVA are no longer in the Tier 1 anymore. They've dropped to Tier 2 because of this, public image likeness money that's out there. And there's a court case going on right now, and it could be, they're talking about they would each get some $23 million or $21 million to divvy up amongst their student athletes, if that were to happen. But right now, it's kind of the Wild West, and I commend you for bringing something forward because something needs to be done. But I just don't want to, I'm a little bit nervous about committing to something that may not be exactly what we want. So I just want to know how much have you been vetting this with the kind of the folks that would be affected?
I can only speak to the DPOR and their oversight of them to this point, and if you have anything to add, sir.
Yes, Madam Chair. So we have not spoken with our university partners. We have looked at what other states are doing, and there was certainly a rush amongst the states to regulate athlete agents after the name, image, likeness case came out, and then, of course, in 2021 with the NCAA's rules about that. And while a majority of the states do regulate them, what we've seen lately is a trend to move away from regulating them. So the state of Illinois recently stopped regulating them, as did New Hampshire.
Delegate Bulova?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Did have a question because, I think to Delegate Leftwich's point, if it's under the Virginia Consumer Protection Act, it declares that certain things, if they're not in a contract, that you got a private cause of action to be able to fight against that. I guess something that I noticed here, though, is that you've got the athlete agent code, but also belts and suspenders is also referenced in the Virginia Consumer Protection Act, that any violation of that section is already under the Consumer Protection Act. And so I seems to me that right now you're able to do it both ways, right? And so to depending on what that violation is, you can either go to the act or you've got a cause of action through the Consumer Protection Act. And so I guess for the director or for Delegate Cherry, am I missing something essential here?
Yes, Madam Chair. As far as the existing section of the code, it lays out a host of requirements, and I believe you are correct that right at the end it does talk about considering violation of the Virginia Consumer Protection Act. And for DPOR, looking at again what's the proper level of regulation, and we believe that the Virginia Consumer Protection Act, that would be sort of the lowest level of protection, civil litigation, is an adequate level of protection. It's the correct level of regulation rather than the more strict registration where you have, actually by statute, a fairly significant registration fee. I think it's around $500 per year.
Okay, thank you.
All right. Is there anyone else here to speak in favor of this bill? And is there anyone here to speak in opposition to the bill? The motions from the committee. It's been moved and seconded to report the bill. Clerk will open the roll. All right, clerk will close the roll. Bill report 7-0. Thank you, Delegate.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Delegate Glass, 27. I'm like messing up all these numbers. You can tell it's not late like for the clock, but just for the General Assembly day, it's late.
Yes, the work has been long, and I'm grateful for you all's work today as we be patient with each other. I have House Bill 2397, which also has a substitute.
I got to get my microphone on. The substitute has been moved and seconded. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? All right.
Okay,
Bills before us.
gratitude, Madam Chair. So, overview of this requires regional councils to develop and biannually update the economic growth diversion plans to identify which industries for grants for Go Virginia. House Bill 2397 in its original form would have added language that expanded the regional councils to consider a couple fields. That's the care economy and, child care, senior care, general care, and creative entrepreneurship, where such the project needed to go further, and those were a requirement. They could identify those as the means for diversification. However, after consultation with Go Virginia Foundation's lobbying team, the bill was amended to allow the regional council to consider any activity which would substantially promote the objectives in the regional's growth diversification plan.
Thank you, Delegate. Is there anyone in the audience who would like to speak in favor of this bill?
Thank you, Madam Chair and members of the committee. Chris Lloyd from McGuire Woods Consulting on behalf of the Go Virginia Foundation. I want to thank Delegate Glass for bringing this bill forward. The substitute, as Delegate Glass elaborated on, sticks more closely to longstanding board policy with regards to consideration of other activities that support high-paying jobs, which, of course, is the focus of Go Virginia. So really appreciate her leadership in doing that, and certainly think it aligns with the intended purpose of Go Virginia. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Anyone here to speak in opposition? All right. Any questions from the committee for the patron? That's right. Moved and seconded to report the bill. Clerk will open the roll with substitute. Clerk will close the roll. The report's 5-1. Thank you, Delegate.
Gratitude, Madam Chair. Appreciate you.
All right, so a quick action is Delegate McClure, you have asked that we take your bill by for the day. Is that correct?
Yes, Madam Chair, that's correct.
So we have House Bill 2557 by Delegate McClure that without objection from the committee will go by for the day, and we will intend to hear that at a future meeting. And so, Delegate, we're down to, I think, we need to find out where Delegate Shin, maybe if we could, she's definitely not here, right? No. All right, I don't know if we want to page Delegate Shin to let her know. And in the meanwhile, we have Delegate Siebold right here. So if you would like to present your bill.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I do have a substitute, very small substitute. It's just a line amendment. If
clerk would like to report the amendment.
Substitute then and amend it onto a substitute or just an amendment?
I'll find out. Yeah, we will.
Madam Chair, on line 387, after within, strike 3, insert 5.
And Council, would that be, when we adopt this, will we have this bill as amended or in the nature of a substitute with that change?
It's a line amendment.
Okay, it'd be an amendment. All right, do I hear a motion to accept the amendment?
So moved.
Moved and seconded. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? All right, the amended bill is before us. Delegate Siebold.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So this bill was brought to me by the Virginia Society of CPAs. It aims to address the shrinking CPA workforce by providing an alternative pathway to licensure. So currently, CPA candidates must complete a college degree plus an additional 30 hours of education, pass a uniform CPA exam, and complete 1 year of work experience in accounting. This proposed legislation would create an alternative pathway allowing candidates with a college degree who also fulfill the minimum hours in accounting and business to obtain a CPA license after passing the uniform CPA exam and completing 2 years of work experience in accounting. The existing pathway to licensure would remain in place. The proposed bill would also ensure continued interstate practice mobility for CPAs by clarifying that out-of-state CPAs with a license in good standing and who have passed the uniform CPA exam can practice in Virginia without a reciprocal license. So, Madam Chair, the Virginia Society of CPAs is also here with us today, and they're also able to answer any questions if the committee has any, and or you do as well, Madam Chair. So thank you very much. Madam
Thank
Chair.
you. Thank you, Delegate. Anyone here who would like to come up and speak in favor of the bill?
Madam Chair, members of the committee, Emily Walker with the Virginia Society of CPAs. We just want to thank the patron for bringing the bill. As she mentioned, this is a workforce development bill for CPAs, and it is very similar to legislation being introduced across the country. So we expect this to be the standard for CPAs moving forward. Thank you.
No one's ever told me anything yet.
Madam Chair and subcommittee members, my name is June Jennings. I'm here on behalf of the Virginia Board of Accountancy, and the agency supports this bill. Thank you.
All right. Is there anyone else in the room to speak against the bill? And then online, I have Jonathan Liljegren here to speak on this bill.
Yes, Liljegren. Thank you for, again, Madam Chair, making this hearing available remotely. I appreciate the Commonwealth's willingness to hear from public comment. I do just raise one concern, and I while we will make it mobile for others to enter the state, those CPAs that are currently licensed like myself as we practice outside of the state of Virginia will be limited to those states who do adopt a similar action to the state of Virginia. While it may eventually become the national standard, that will take time. Currently, around only 14 states have made similar adjustments to their licensure in their states. So in order to practice in additional states beyond those 14, CPAs like myself would have to pay an additional $250 to get our CPA license evaluated to see if we comply with that state's CPA license requirements. So my request is that the amended, and I don't know if this was the bill that was just amended or the amendment that was made, I would ask that if the bill is going to pass, that the amendment be made to extend the effective date of the bill until July 1st, 2026. That coincides with the end of the typical CPA licensure period in Virginia, which ends on June 30th. So CPAs like myself will not be stuck with a license that's mobile for only half of the year. It also allows CPAs to get through busy seasons, so we're not caught in the middle of a busy season doing audits or taxes and find out that we're no longer mobile with a certain state. It will give us additional time for other states' next legislative session to adopt similar legislation. So my request, and I would also say I think the bill is expertly written, one that other states should model after, so I think we should pass the bill. I would just ask that the effective date be changed.
Thank you for your testimony. I'd like to ask the patron if she or her expert might be interested in responding to that testimony.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Yes, if you don't mind, if I can call up the Virginia Society of CPAs to speak on behalf of.
Yes, please.
And respond.
Yes, thank you, Emily Walker with the Virginia Society of CPAs. With all due respect to the gentleman, we do disagree with his, what's the word I'm looking for, his opinion that this will negatively affect mobility for Virginia CPAs. The vast majority of states have specific provisions around mobility of their license that also takes it to the individual level. So anybody that is currently licensed in Virginia under the existing pathway will retain their mobility regardless of the pace at which other states adopt changes. In addition to that, the vast majority of states, as I mentioned before, are working towards making very similar adjustments to their laws, including how they handle the practice mobility. Practice mobility changes as adopted are taking effect pretty much immediately or in line with like Virginia, when we pass a bill, it'll take effect in July, unless you put a delayed enactment on it. So other states are very similar. in that respect. The pathway itself does have a delayed effective date of January 1st of 2026 before candidates could even utilize that specific pathway.
Thank you. Any questions from the committee?
Madam Chair,
Delegate Cole.
move to report.
Been moved and seconded to report the bill. The clerk will open the roll. As amended. Thank you, Mr. Clerk. All right, the bill report 6-0. Thank you, Delegate. Delegate Shin, we've got House Bill 2091.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and thank you, members, for your patience as we run around to be on committees. I believe there might be either amendments or a substitute that's been prepared. Amendments.
All right, Council could please report the amendments.
Yes, Madam Chair. On line 39, after all, insert state. On line 39, after programs and insert state. On line 48, after within, strike 45, spelled out, and insert 45, the numeral. And on line 48, after receipt, period, insert the following paragraph that says, if the commissioner does not provide a response within 45 days of receipt, the waiver request will be deemed approved. If a program is denied an exemption by the commissioner, such program may appeal the decision to the Secretary of Labor within 10 days of the date of denial by the commissioner. The Secretary of Labor will make a final determination within 30 days of receipt of the appeal, period. And Madam Chair, these line amendments are available online.
Do I hear a motion? Okay. Moved and seconded. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? All right, the amended bill is before us. Delegate Shin.
Thank you, Madam Chair and members. House Bill 2091 continues the progress we've made here in the Commonwealth in recent years to better align and coordinate the many workforce development programs we have. In 2023, the General Assembly passed legislation to create the Department of Workforce Development and Advancement, also known as Virginia Works, and we've empowered the agency to support job placement efforts and track outcomes for workforce programs across the Commonwealth. Last session, we also enacted SB 436, which contained a provision that the Fast Forward or Workforce Credential Grant, as well as G3 programs at the Virginia Community College System, use the state's high demand occupation list. Matching up state workforce development programs with the approved high demand occupations list helps to ensure that Virginia is better preparing individuals to meet the demands of Virginia's labor market. Additionally, focusing on the job placement component, the Virginia Workforce Development Programs can better assist individuals in finding meaningful work after their trainings. The high demand occupation list is approved biennially by the Virginia Board of Workforce Development, and the board works with the Virginia Office of Education Economics and the Virginia Economic Development Partnership. To speak a little bit more to the amendments that have come before you, we heard some concerns about like regional and local workforce boards, so we've really tailored this just to address state workforce programs. And the second piece of it was we left it kind of, in the introduced version, there's a little bit of like wiggle room around like what happens if the commissioner doesn't respond, or what happens if there is a denial of exemption. And so we clarify to make that a little bit clearer and for there to be a process.
Thank you, Delegate. Any questions for the patron before we ask if there's anyone in the room who would like to speak in favor of the bill? Come on up.
Be shy.
My name is Anthony, Madam Chair, members of the subcommittee. My name is Anthony Reedy with the Department of Workforce Development and Advancement. We appreciate the delegate working with us on this legislation. As she had referenced, the General Assembly and Virginia as a whole has moved forward to making sure that our workforce programs align with the in-demand needs of the economy, and this is just another step in that effort. So be happy to answer any technical questions that you may have.
Thank you. Any questions for the witness? Anyone here to speak in opposition of the bill?
Madam Chair.
Delegate Cole.
Move to report.
Moved and seconded to report the bill as amended. Yeah. The clerk will open the roll. All right, the clerk will close the roll. The bill report 7-0. Thank you, Delegate Chen.
Thank you, Madam Chair, members.
Before we move on with the committee, I know a bill we just recently voted on had some concerns, so Delegate Krizek.
I have a motion. Having voted on the prevailing side, I move to reconsider House Bill 2374.
Moved and seconded to reconsider. That is is it a voice vote to reconsider? All right, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? All right, the bill is back before us. Delegate Krizek.
Let's hear from the patron, Delegate Cherry, if that's okay with the chair.
Yep. Delegate Cherry.
Madam Chair, thank you. The intent of bringing this bill was to provide consumer protection for the student athletes in this relationship between them and the agents. It's come to our attention as we've worked through this bill and thanking the chairman for catching something that we didn't realize, that this protection already exists. And so knowing that we would like to keep all of the protection we can for our student athletes, we believe that keeping it under DPOR and now understanding that is also in the Consumer Protection Act relationship, I would move or ask that the committee move to strike the bill.
All right, thank you, Delegate Cherry. Thank you to the chair for catching that concern, and I thank the delegate for your leadership on this issue and recognizing that this is the path forward and your work to get to this point. So with that, I'll entertain a motion to strike.
Second.
All right, moved and seconded, and that is a recorded vote, so the clerk will open the roll. All right, and the bill is stricken with the vote of 7-0. Thank you, Delegate Cherry. I appreciate
Thank you, ma'am.
I believe that is the work of the committee. So with that, we'll entertain a motion to adjourn. All those in favor say aye. Aye. No one's opposed. We're adjourned.